Some people disappear slowly, not all at once, not in some dramatic collapse, but over years. Through silence, through distance, through the slow unraveling of what used to be daily life. This is a story about one of those people. Her name is Helen, and for 27 years, she lived alone. Not because she had to, not because she was unloved, but because sometimes, when life breaks a certain way, solitude becomes survival. She had neighbors. She had family somewhere. But days passed without conversation. Weeks without a single voice other than her own. And she became good at it. The quiet, the rhythm, the steady pulse of isolation that no longer felt strange, just normal. Until one morning, everything shifted. Not because someone came to save her, not because the world changed, but because something inside her finally stirred awake. If you've ever felt like you were fading, like life had placed you just outside its center, this story is for you. Before we begin, tell me something quietly in the comments if you feel safe. What's one thing you stopped doing because no one was watching? One habit, one dream, one part of yourself that you slowly let go of in the silence. Sometimes naming it is how we call it back. Helen's house was neat, not spotless, but careful. The curtains were always half drawn, letting in just enough light, but never too much. She woke at the same time every morning. 6:30, boiled water for tea, fed the cat she never named. She watered the same 3 plants. She checked the locks twice. She read one chapter of an old novel and then placed the book back on the exact same shelf. Everything had a rhythm, a purpose, a reason, but none of it was truly for her. It was for the structure, for the comfort of things staying in place when everything else had moved on. Helen hadn't had a visitor in 6 months. The last time someone knocked, it was a delivery she hadn't ordered. The man apologized. She said it was okay, and the door closed again. She rarely answered the phone. Most calls were robocalls. She kept the volume low just in case someone real tried to reach her. They never did. Some people find loneliness in the silence. Helen found it in the repetition, the sameness, the unchanging familiarity that began to feel like forgetting. She'd once had a life full of people. She was a school teacher. She used to bake for the neighbors. She sent birthday cards to 5 different nieces. Now, she just folded towels, cleaned things that weren't dirty, watched the same news channel with the sound off. And if you asked her why, she wouldn't say she was sad. She'd say she was used to it, that this was just how it is now. But what she didn't realize was that something inside her was still waiting for something to wake her, to move her, to call her back into being. It was a Tuesday, just like all the others. Same tea, same sweater, same breeze coming through the kitchen window. Helen sat at the table, spoon resting in her bowl of oatmeal, when she noticed something odd. A single letter, half tucked beneath the doormat. No return address. No name. Just her own, written in unfamiliar handwriting. She stared at it for a while. Almost didn't pick it up. She'd gotten used to ignoring things that didn't make sense, but something about the ink, the shape of the letters, made her hands tremble as she opened it. Inside, just a sentence. "Are you still there, Ulm?" No signature, no clue, no joke. She read it again, then again. And for reasons she couldn't explain, she began to cry. Not loudly, not desperately, just enough to feel something crack open inside her. Because that one sentence brought her back to something she hadn't felt in years. The awareness of being seen. She didn't know who sent it, didn't know if it was meant for her, didn't know if it even mattered. But it shattered the stillness. And for the first time in a long time, she asked herself, "Am I still here? Not just breathing, not just existing, but here, present, alive, capable of being reached." That question echoed through her house like a bell, and in its ring, something inside her stirred, not loudly, not quickly, but enough to make her stand up, open the window wider, and feel the air on her face like a welcome she didn't know she was waiting for. The letter stayed on the counter. She didn't throw it away, didn't hide it, didn't tuck it into a drawer like other forgotten things. She left it there, in the open, where she could see it every time she passed. That same afternoon, she did something unusual. She walked outside. Not far, just to the mailbox, then to the sidewalk, then a little further. She didn't bring her cane, didn't wear the coat she always used as armor. She just walked. Slow, uncertain, but walking. A neighbor was out front, watering the garden. Helen had seen her 100 times from the window, but never spoke. This time, she waved. And the woman waved back, smiled. "Beautiful day," she said. It wasn't a profound moment, not a breakthrough, but it was something new, something real, something unscripted. Helen walked 2 more blocks, then home again, hands trembling, heart pounding, but face smiling. The next day, she wrote a letter of her own. She didn't know who to send it to, so she mailed it to her own address. Inside, she wrote, "Yes, I'm still here." It wasn't for anyone else. It was for the part of herself that had stopped checking in. Because sometimes we don't need the world to see us. We just need to remember how to see ourselves. And that one sentence, that quiet reply, became her beginning. The change wasn't sudden. It rarely is. But something in Helen began to shift. She started playing music again. The old vinyls from the back closet. Ella Fitzgerald, Leonard Cohen. Songs that remembered her youth even when she forgot it. She dusted off her sewing machine. It squeaked like a memory. She stitched pillowcases, then curtains, then a little apron she didn't need but liked the color of. She began writing down dreams again. Not big ones, just small things. Try a new recipe. Call the library. Paint the kitchen yellow. No one saw her list. No one needed to. It was her way of telling the world, I am still becoming. Some days were still quiet, still slow, still heavy, but they no longer felt hollow. Because every cup of tea, every freshly made bed, every small act of intention became a thread, pulling her back into the fabric of a life that could still be hers. She wrote another letter, weeks later. This time she sent it to her niece in Ohio. They hadn't spoken in years. All it said was, "I was thinking of you. If you're ever nearby, you're welcome to stop in." 3 days later, the phone rang, and a voice she hadn't heard since 2009 said, "Aunt Helen? I'd love that." It was a Thursday. The doorbell rang at 2:15 p.m. Helen had made tea. Real tea, not just the bag in the chipped mug. She used the teapot, set 2 cups, brought out the good sugar bowl that hadn't seen daylight in a decade. Her niece, Clara, walked in with a warm coat and eyes that looked older but still kind. They hugged, a little awkwardly, then tightly, as if time collapsed between them. They sat at the kitchen table just like Helen used to all those years ago, and they talked, about nothing at first, then about everything, about Clara's divorce, about Helen's teaching days, about the boy Clara used to date, who played guitar, and how Helen never liked him. They laughed, softly, easily, like water finding its way back through old pipes. And for the first time in 27 years, Helen's kitchen felt not just full, but alive. Clara stayed for 2 hours, then promised to come again. And this time, Helen believed her. After she left, Helen stood in the doorway for a while, watching the street, holding the still warm teacup, and whispered to no one and everything, "I'm back." Not back to who she was, but back to something truer. A version of herself that had survived in quiet pieces, waiting for the right moment to return. And it began, as so many things do, with one unexpected morning and the courage to answer a question she didn't know was hers. Some stories don't need grand endings. They just need to be seen. Helen's life didn't suddenly become crowded. She didn't move. She didn't go viral. She didn't change the world. But she changed her world in small, gentle, undeniable ways. Because sometimes we don't need to be rescued. We just need to be remembered by someone, by something, by ourselves. And if you're watching this now, sitting in your own version of stillness, your own quiet room, your own rhythm of repetition, maybe this story is the letter you've been waiting for. Are you still there? If so, tell me, in the comments, in your own words, or just a single line. Yes, I'm still here. Because naming it is the first step back. Back to life, back to presence, back to the part of you that never stopped hoping someone might ask. And if this story spoke to something quiet in you, something hidden, forgotten, or just beginning to return, subscribe. Here, we don't rush the healing. We don't require perfection. We just make space for stories that need to breathe. Come sit with us again tomorrow night. There's always a seat open, and we're listening.